a war in the labyrinth that lasted for decades, and was the most violent of all time. It is over. After the defeat of tens of thousands of labyrinth masters, the prisoners were rescued. Among them were children who were born in the labyrinth. They had lost their mothers during the war, and were forced to feed on the milk of the monsters. All of these children had supernatural powers and were so strong that they could hardly be called human. Humanity called them the child of the dungeon. The military found one of those born in the labyrinth. He appeared rather late. Perhaps he came from the lower floors. They had to be on guard because he may not yet have been able to fully control his powers. What were we going to do? The second level of the labyrinth, said the guy. He had been answered for a long time and told that there was nothing here. Didn't the children of the dungeon become famous because of the great publicity in the media? In part, they did. They got a chance to become millionaires, said the girl. On top of what? She said she did a little research and found out that the dungeon kids were obsessed with mazes. But as it turned out, this guy was the only one who was afraid of dungeons. And that's why he was known as the dungeon child with an unknown level. Maybe because he was weak. The girl said she took guards just in case. Just in case he was for real. Ahem. The guy said it was dangerous to stay here and we should at least get to the first floor before setting up the pass. He also reiterated that she should tell the guards not to use guns even if we run into monsters. Did the guards say they weren't too steamed up? Even if they were a child of Buddha, they said they didn't care. All you have to do is escort. We'll take care of the kids ourselves. Arrogant fools. While we are having this pointless dialogue, someone is already being torn apart in a labyrinth. We should never have underestimated them. Suddenly they saw a green monster with horns. This subterranean creature was most often found on the ground floor. But they were out of luck. It was already wounded and they had better get out of here before the smell of blood soaked into their clothes. The guards told everyone to assemble. Said they were about to show what they were charging so much for their services. They shouted fire. But the guy started yelling at them not to shoot. But they shot him. They got excited and said that anything that moves is killed by bullets. He was a little uncomfortable because a lot of people were dying here from wild animals. The guy said they had to pack their bags and go back immediately. Pissed, they said. They heard the sound of someone. The raptors heard the sound of a gunshot, but he was still far away, so they still had a chance. Let's kill him, the guards said. If we take a narrow trajectory, we'll take him down for sure. It's only a matter of a couple of bullets. What they just killed is worth millions. And if we kill a few of those things, we could each get 10 million. Money again. Idiots. It's up to you. But we're staying here. Just don't think about begging for our money later, they said. Follow me and hurry up. He said, and they left without taking any pictures. They didn't know where he was going. He blew their whole shot. He said they were getting out of here. But we had a deal. Wait, you saying that? The reason this dungeon child is avoiding the labyrinth is because that he's a coward. They told them to go back and that they had to film their fight. We spent a lot of money to come here. If we leave, we'll be left with nothing. Before they could speak, they heard a very loud noise and they didn't know what it was. Everybody shut up and follow me. Can't let them know our group split up. The raptors heard the shots. The one they killed was their prey. Are you gonna let them die knowing that? If I try to convince them, we'd be dead by now, he said. The blood got on their clothes, so they were doomed from the start. If I could convince them. There was blood on the boy's leg. Suddenly a huge creature attacked him and ate him. It was a wolf monkey. But they didn't know what it was doing on the ground floor. It looked like they'd fallen into their trap. Could it have been following them? The guy pulls out a knife very quickly and attacks the monsters with all his might. dodging all their blows. He saves the girl. All the others died. The girl held up well, too. I think they fought back. But they were not far away, so they had to hurry. The girl cried and asked why he didn't kill the monsters. You could have killed them all. He said I was the chaperone, not your guard. The contract didn't say anything about him going into battle. But people died. You hired a bunch of dumb people who never came down here. And they didn't care what he told them. So why is it my fault? If you spoiled idiots had listened to me in the first place, you would have survived. And we wouldn't even have faced the monsters. But why did you only save me? He said if she died, he wouldn't get the money. He was just doing his job. I was paying her. I will protect you until then. Before they could speak, they saw a huge light, and the emblem of the labyrinth appeared before them. They were very much surprised. It was the entrance to a labyrinth. The guide said they had to get out of there now, but the ground beneath them was already beginning to shake. The guide broke his left arm because they had fallen somewhere. Well, it could have been worse. I don't think my client survived the fall from that height. That was my money. But even worse, he was in the heart of the labyrinth. I should have looked around. He didn't feel anything. Perhaps it had been abandoned. He looked at the sign in the shape of a snake and it started to attack him and surround him. It bit him and he began to die. It looked like he would inherit this sinister dungeon. He woke up. He seemed to have survived. But he could definitely feel the poison, also his arm was fine. Not even a bite mark. To hell with the arm. His whole body had fully recovered. But this place was familiar to him. It seems to be somewhere near the entrance to the ground floor. He saw a little girl named Yenju. She was lying on the floor and he ran to her. Despite her severe injuries, she was still breathing. There was no medicine or people around. There was no one here to help her. There was no time to think. He picked her up on his shoulders and carried her towards the exit. The conductor came home. He saw that the news was saying that there had been an accident with the expedition party around 9 o'clock this morning. 7 of the 9 were killed. The monsters ambushed them, destroying the entire unit's fighting force. The survivor, Miss Jiang, was rescued by the dungeon master, Mr. Kim. It's not even 2 hours later and it's all over the news. Damn journos. It's a good thing they taped it. They would have blamed it on him. Wouldn't want to have to pay fines because of a bunch of idiots. He left part of his paycheck in Henji's room. I hope she noticed. It's a tough day these days. A girl comes up to him and he starts asking what's wrong with her face. Were you crying? Looks like she just saw the money. It was a huge amount of money for her. She must have been scared. Take this too, he said. It'll come in handy later. Don't ask where I got the money from. I didn't do anything wrong. My father came out to them and asked what was going on. I heard you went to work and risked your life. Naturally, I quit my job and came home. He told her to give the money to her brother. You think we're useless for risking your life for money? I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing bad happened to me. I just made some money. Enough. I know we're not blood relatives, but you underestimate me. Did you really think I wouldn't find out about anything? I'm sorry, he said. His sister gave him the money back and went to her room. Dad started saying that he thought he raised you properly, but you grew up selfish. I understand that raising a child is not an easy task. Father, I gave her the money because I wanted to. I have nothing to spend it on anyway, so why not put it aside for her wedding? If she knew you got that money risking your life, she'd never accept it. Go get some rest and promise me it won't happen again. All right, Father, he replied. If you take over the upbringing of a child from a dungeon, you get a good sum of money. There had already been many cases where a child was taken into a family only for them, and very often such children killed their guardians. But he was lucky. After all, he's got a real family. Yes, it's hard for them now because of his sister's wedding, but it was nothing. He also got an unknown tattoo on his arm. It was no ordinary tattoo. When he started rubbing it, he got a hologram above his arm. He had no idea what it all meant. He started searching for information on the internet, and all he found was that this green panel was similar to the ones often seen in games. It looked like the Naga maze referred to the maze where the snake had bitten him. He thought the abandoned labyrinth had chosen him as the new master, and there was such a thing in the games. Also, something had appeared near the portal. It hadn't been there before. He pressed, and suddenly he started to fall somewhere and fly again into the dungeons. He didn't understand what was happening. It looked like he had hit that place again, but no, it was different. He had gone to a different place. There he saw the snake again. It was so fast that he couldn't even keep track of it. He had to use all his strength. He took off his cloak and tried to cover the snake with it. He succeeded. He did not want to fall for her tricks again. It would only hold her back for a while, but she would have enough strength to get out of her clothes without any problem. He had to find a weapon. The liberator of the serpent is the one who will inherit the dungeon and take the throne of the Naga. You're too young and unfit to take the crown, but I'm in no condition to turn back time. So I will consider it fate, said the serpent. The throne of the Naga? What are you talking about? Are you one of the labyrinth masters? The king has fallen, long live the king. Best of luck in your new uneasy reign. He shouted for someone to tell him what's going on here. Don't play with me. I will not return to this hell. For years I avoided these fucking mazes, but I had to come down here for money for my sister's wedding. Why did I have to be haunted by one trouble after another? I guess I should have heeded my parents' advice and avoided these mazes and never returned to them. Suddenly his sister knocked on his door and asked if she could come in. She wanted to talk to him. His brother told her to wait because he was changing. He saw a portal through his room that brought him here. It looks like sounds from the outside world are coming through here, she said, walking in on him. He shouted halt and quickly jumped into the portal. During this he felt his body tearing apart as he was in the portal. But he was fine. His sister came in and asked what the sounds were. He was also sweating. And all this in street clothes. She saw him playing a game and thought he was playing. He said it was streaming. I never thought my always closed-off brother would be interested in that sort of thing. You have no hobbies, no girlfriends, no friends, and you sit here all day long. So that's how you see me. She was partly right, though. After he left the labyrinth he tried his best to forget this horrible place. Eventually the peace he wasn't used to caused him discomfort, and the reason other dungeon children were drawn to the labyrinths must have been exactly that. So what did you want? She apologized and said she didn't know you came back to this place because of me. She was really sorry. I thought something was wrong. He told her not to worry about it and take it. Before he could finish, he remembered he'd left his coat in the portal. He told her to wait for her outside the door and he would be right back. All his money was left in that coat. When he wanted to go into the portal he saw a demon there who took off his coat and laughed.